initiative. This initiative invested $65 billion to be able to provide affordable, reliable, high-speed internet for everyone in the United States by the end of this decade. Of these funds, Connecticut received nearly $150 million to launch our own digital equity plan. Governor Lamont immediately sprang into action to build a plan. It's called Connecticut, Everyone Connected. And that will take great strides toward the goal of closing the digital divide, getting all Americans to be connected to the internet. What does the plan entail? First, ensuring internet is available and affordable, building out our broadband infrastructure, ensuring that residents here in Connecticut can afford their internet bill, provide their family with high-speed connections they need to support their household. Second, we need to expand digital literacy, including training to help residents develop internet and cybersecurity skills. Connecticut's libraries, the state libraries, have launched something called the Digital Navigator Program, has played a key role in connecting Connecticut residents to the internet. Under the program, instructors have helped individuals across various technology skill levels obtain services, obtain devices, accept access to the internet, navigate the internet, and stay safe while they do so. It's an effective program, and it is resources like these that are crucial to closing the digital divide. As a matter of fact, earlier this month, I was at the Hamden Public Library. We celebrated Connecticut, Everyone Connected. I witnessed firsthand the important work that the Hamden Library, in partnership, with the Connecticut State Library, is doing to get everyone in our state connected to the internet. Their Digital Navigator program helps individuals generate the tools necessary to get access to the internet, whether that be digital education or cybersecurity awareness. By ensuring that residents have technical support and public resources and the services to learn to navigate the internet, we can ensure that our households in Connecticut are connected to high-speed internet. Everyone connected supports economic growth. It's connection to jobs, finding a posting, submitting an application, completing a job interview, helps students entering the workforce a breakthrough. It is to improve the educational outcomes for all of our students. Our state already provides purchased computers and broadband vouchers to every K through 12 student. The ratio of 1-to-1 computer programs still remains high, nearly universal, ensuring students have access to a computer and the internet to complete their schoolwork, and even keeping their computer post-graduation so they can look for jobs or further pursue their education. In a world where telehealth appointments are commonplace, reliable access to the internet improves health outcomes, helps residents get connected to doctors to help take care of themselves. So, we all agree we need a reliable connection. I'm committed to ensuring that everyone has that access to high-speed internet. Look forward to working with our federal and state partners to close the digital divide. I'm going to stop so we can get our conversation going. Let me first ask our guests, Doug Casey and Courtney Dozier, to say a few words to you, and then we'll deal with Q&A. Again, Doug is the Executive Director of the Connecticut Commission for Educational Technology. He's been there over 8 years. He oversees Connecticut's Everyone Connected initiative and is the Chief Administrator for the state's policy and advocacy arm for educational technology. Doug, I'm going to introduce Courtney at this time as well, and so that, Doug, after you speak, Courtney, you'll jump on. Courtney Dozier, Deputy Director of the Broadband Equity, Access, and Deployment Program at the United States Department of Commerce. It's better known as the BEAD program. Courtney leads a dynamic team at Commerce. She is the tip of the spear in overseeing the implementation of billions of dollars in the bipartisan infrastructure law to expand high-speed internet access. Courtney will speak to how the administration is working to get everyone connected and how their efforts are helping people in our state of Connecticut. So, Doug, take it away, and followed by Courtney, and then we'll open it up to questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman DeLauro. Hopefully everybody can hear me clearly. We really appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight a little bit about what's called the Digital Equity Program that you mentioned earlier. We could also refer to it as Digital Opportunity. It's all about connecting our residents and making sure they're equipped with the computers and skills they need to use technology effectively for work, learning, civic engagement, staying active, staying healthy, connecting with the people that they love and are close to. I wanted to provide a little bit of background on the program. It's near and dear to my heart, given that I began my career as a middle school and high school English teacher. I worked at the Smithsonian's Office of Education down in the Capitol and served as the technology director in one of Connecticut's largest districts. Was very involved in that work you mentioned earlier around equipping students with computers and connections. So we've seen firsthand what this work can do. Wanted to take a few minutes and talk about this digital equity program. As you mentioned, Congresswoman, it was funded by the 2021 Federal Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, and we've developed a plan to close the digital divide in Connecticut. It means helping to ensure that everyone in our state can afford high-speed and safe connection to the Internet as well as a computer. And as we all know, that's just the beginning. To make use of all the digital tools that are available these days, we also need to invest in and plan to invest in training and support services, what we call digital navigation. And really what this means is having someone trusted nearby who can help you navigate through all that technology. We've reached out for help from people we know, whether family or the local library and the community center. We want to take those resources and amplify them and make sure they're available to everybody in the state. Because it's through local trusted relationships that we see as so essential, the human connections, and that's why we're calling the draft plan Connecticut, Everyone Connected. We just finished a year of research into what gets in the way of our neighbors accessing technology. We got input from more than 7,000 residents, and that helped us design a 5-year plan that will help all residents get online, get trained, and take advantage of all that being connected has to offer, from telehealth to finishing a degree, applying for a new job, managing finances and accessing state services, as well as services within your local town. Just last week, we closed our public comment period. We got input from almost 500 residents who read and provided feedback on our plan. So to take a look yourself, you can visit www.ct.gov/digitalequity, and we hope to receive funding to begin the work outlined in the plan sometime this fall. That plan is in review right now, and we'll keep you posted on that. So I thank you again for the time to share just a little bit about this important program and look forward to fielding any questions from our listeners later in the call. At this point, I'll hand it over to Courtney Dozier from the NTIA.
Sure. Thanks, everyone. Good evening. I'll be really brief because I know the Congresswoman is anxious to kind of hear from the folks on this call. My name's Courtney. I'm with NTIA, and I want to give a little bit of an overview about this BEAD program that a couple of folks have talked about. So Congress in 2021 passes a law that says, exactly as the Congresswoman alluded to, the Internet is no longer a luxury. We knew that before, but man, did the pandemic put a spotlight on that, right? So we want to do something about it. This is going to take kind of historic effort, and to that end, they provided over $42 billion to say, let's actually do this once and for all. We've been talking about it for a long time. Connecticut was awarded $144 million to, again, make sure that they're providing fast, reliable, affordable access to the Internet to the folks in their state. So I really want to commend the leadership in the State Broadband Office in Connecticut. Over 500 public comments they talked about. They're really engaging, pounding the pavement, working their way around the state to make sure that they're hearing from everyone to kind of understand the barriers in the past. Is it Was it affordability? Was it the infrastructure didn't exist? Was it that folks didn't know what to do with it once they had it, right? And so making sure that we're addressing the unique needs of folks in Connecticut and not applying a one-size-fits-all approach. So where Connecticut is for the BEAD program, they submitted their initial plan, their initial proposal at the end of the year. We're now kind of going through it to help make sure that it meets all the requirements for the program and that it, most importantly, accomplishes the goal, Internet for All. And we'll continue to work with them over the next several weeks on that. They then will host what's called a challenge process, and that is where folks in Connecticut can really engage with the state on where there's service and where there is not, where there's reliable, affordable access to service. So they'll have a portal up online through their website, as well as other opportunities for folks to engage to say, we want to make sure that I'm counted on this map so that when funding is put out there, when we're thinking about opportunities, we have a very clear picture of what the landscape of broadband infrastructure looks like in Connecticut. So they'll work really hard on that, and I know, especially based on their progress in socializing their 5-year action plan and thinking about the community in the formation of their initial proposal, they'll continue to kind of keep members of the community front and center when they're thinking about this challenge process as well. Over the summer, they'll begin kind of collecting applications from the provider community that says, here's how we're going to serve and get to everyone in Connecticut. That'll be a long process for everybody. It'll involve lots of back and forth, I suspect, but the goal here would be about a year from now, Connecticut will be in the position to be spending that BEAD money and connecting folks to high-speed affordable internet. So we're excited. It's a big lift. We've got a lot of support from folks all around in Connecticut. We have federal program officers in every state in the country who are kind of our liaisons with the state and our eyes and ears with folks on the ground. Our FPO in Connecticut's name is Graham Fischel. He's doing a great job getting out and around and making sure he's introducing himself and being a liaison. So want to make sure that he's connected with folks as well. And I think with that, sorry, I'm looking at my notes, you guys. I have a lot. I can talk about this all day, but I'm going to pause and hand it back over to the Congresswoman. Thank you for having us, and happy to take any additional questions.
Thank you both very, very much, and thanks for the information. I think it's enormously helpful to our guests who are on tonight. But with that, let's just open the lines and let's get some questions.
Let's do that, Congresswoman, and thank you both for your remarks. If you have a question, remember you can press *3 on your phone to get in line to ask it. And if you'd like to sign up for the Congresswoman's newsletter, that's *6 on your phone's keypad. So again, *3 gets you in line to ask a question. *6 will get you in line to sign up for the Congresswoman's newsletter. All right, so we're going to first go to Lisa in Hamden, a question about internet. Lisa, you're live with the Congresswoman. Go ahead.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call. It was pretty much answered. I was wondering if there were local organizations that were in place to help folks navigate the system and get in touch with federal and government aid. I found personally, being on disability, that my local representative at a Frontier office was extremely helpful, and I understand also that is sometimes a rare occurrence in customer service, and that it can't necessarily be depended on, and so I'm just wondering what support is out there and available. Thank you.
Well, Doug, why don't you talk about Connecticut? And why don't you talk about what are the pieces that are available and how can people access the information to get more information based on, what is out there?
Thanks, Congresswoman, and thanks for the question, Lisa. I echo what you stated. There are some pockets of excellence out there, and it takes as they say, it takes a village. We've got our partners in the private sector like Frontier and all the major cable carriers who can provide a lot of assistance with getting residents online, especially those who qualify for assistance through federal programs. Congresswoman mentioned earlier this concept of digital navigation, and many libraries, as well as community centers and even neighborhood revitalization zone contacts can provide residents with that kind of support. The challenge that we found, though, is that we don't want to just sort of depend on a sort of quilt or patchwork of services. We want to make sure that they're coordinated and that they're available to everybody, no matter where you live in the state. So that's a real target that we have for the Digital Equity Program, is as a partner, as a complement to the BEAD program, which is all about the connections and the affordability. We want to make sure there are trusted local partners who can walk alongside residents, help them get online and get the skills they need to get on their way and make use of all those digital tools that are available.
That's great.
Okay.
No, thank you. Thank you. And good question. I appreciate your participating.
All right, let's get into our next caller. Remember, *3 gets you in line to speak with the Congresswoman to ask your question. It is Lindsay from New Haven. Go ahead with your question, Lindsay.
Yes, it's twofold. One, the urban area is so densified that many of the people, even though they receive assistance, don't have computers. So what good would the program do them? Secondly, I received a notice from Frontier, one of your partners, saying that effective February 1st, the program was in jeopardy of no longer being in existence. Then I received another one, say a letter from one of the other agencies telling me that it was going to be April 1st and that the program was in jeopardy.
Okay, no, what I want to do is let's address the second part of your question. This is, and I want to have our folks weigh in on this as well. Really, the Affordable Connectivity Program really is we've had as of January this month, 22 million households are enrolled in receiving a monthly benefit. Don't know if the caller is receiving a monthly benefit, but in fact, so to tell you what is happening, the program is that was allotted at $14.2 billion as projected to run out of funds on April 24th. And so they're looking to take steps to wind down that program. And there will not be applications or enrollments processed after February 7th, 2024 at 11:59 p.m. If it's a household who have applied, if you've been approved and are receiving the monthly internet discount before February 8th, you'll continue to receive the ACP benefit until the fund runs out in April, as long as the household remains enrolled in the program. So after the funds run out, that is April 2024, households that participate in the ACP will no longer receive the ACP discount. Let me just say this, and I want our guests to weigh in here with any further information, that this is something that a number of us would like to see continue on. And I can't tell you for sure whether that will be the case. What I can tell you is that we will do everything we can to see if there can be an extension of this program. And let me ask both Courtney and Doug to weigh in about the effectiveness of the program and what are our opportunities for getting it extended.
Doug, maybe I can jump in and then hand it over to you. as well on Lindsay's question about computers.
Yes,
so maybe,
please, if you want
maybe
to.
two.
That, but
I,
a program.
Yeah, I would add.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Congresswoman. I would add so a little bit of talk here about the Affordable Connectivity Program, which is a $30 a month subsidy program for qualifying families, and the Congresswoman explained it perfectly. Right, it's going to run out of money. I wanted to. You're talking to the source, right? You're talking to the right person here, making sure that folks know how important this program is very much top of mind, I think, for folks. I wanted to mention for the BEAD program, as we look a little bit further down the line, one of the requirements that Congress asked us to consider and that we've in turn passed on to the states, so Connecticut, like every other state, is going to be required to tell us while you're using these public funds, which are rare and precious, to build out these networks, how are you going to ensure affordability? And one of those requirements is going to be a low-cost service option. So for families that would qualify for the ACP, whether the ACP exists or not, what would a low-cost service option look like for them on these networks that are built using public dollars for the BEAD program? So that one's a little bit further down the road, but did want to flag that as part of this conversation as well. And Doug, happy to hand it over to you.
Great, thanks, Courtney. Worth noting as well, part of the Affordable Connectivity Program, although those funds are far from secured, is there is a computer component, which gets back to your first question, Lindsay. There is, through that program, you can receive up to $100 off of a new computer. So that's there, but obviously we don't want to hang our hat on a program that's not that doesn't have sort of secure funding. So one of the areas that we're working on with our state digital equity program is looking at potentially developing programs that would take used or refurbished computers. These would be really high-quality computers from companies, private partners that we're looking into, and also looking at partnering with private retailers that would be looking to step up and help us with that regard, because we realize that having a connection is not worth a whole lot if you don't have a computer to use it. So this is all in the plan that we've designed, and when we do receive funding, hopefully later this fall, we'll be able to start implementing on that. But I just want to echo, it's a great question, and we understand we've been accounting for that moving forward.
Thank you both. Congresswoman, anything to add, or should we take our next caller?
I want to interrupt this for a second. Doug, where can people get the best information on this, the $100 with regard to a computer? Where's the best way for them to get, access to what they should do or how they need to, to do this?
Sure. So great question, Congresswoman. The best place to do that would be, and again, I don't want to have a circular argument here, but if you are online already, or if you can go to a friend's or a library, the easiest way to apply is to go to www.affordableconnectivity.gov. So it's called the Affordable Connectivity Program, so go to affordableconnectivity.gov. You can submit an application right through that site, and that's where you would apply for that credit for a new computer, in addition to applying for the connection credit that you would get off of your internet bill. The other way to do this is, if you know who your cable provider is or who your internet service provider is that you want to work with, you can also apply for the credit directly through them. And also, if you're already a customer and you're qualified for the program, but you haven't taken advantage of it, you can also do so in contact directly with whoever that internet service provider is. So there are a number of different ways to go about doing this, but they all lead to the same path.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Let's get into our next caller. The next question is from Dawn. A question about energy assistant programs. Dawn, you're live.
Yeah, hi. I was just at the Energy Assistance Program today, and they told me that their funding was cut and that this year, for some reason, it's only 2 Phillips for oil, and it's either oil or UI. And you know what? I wasn't going to say anything about the ACP program, but people that want $100 off of a computer and then they can't afford electricity or internet, it doesn't really work. If they're applying for the ACP program, then how are they going to really get the computer, The ACP program is a good program, and I think that's what you guys were talking about, internet. The programs that we have already, we need to keep, you know what I mean? I don't know. That's my question. Why aren't we keeping the programs that work?
Okay, I'm going to give the question on the ACP. I mentioned it earlier. I want to make this program work. I'm looking for ways in which we can deal with trying to extend the program. I think it is very, very valuable. We have some folks here that may not see the advantage. I think they've got their head in the sand and don't understand the way that how the internet is so critical to people. It's no longer a luxury; it is a necessity. You asked about the low-income energy assistance program, and what we need to do is to, we've talked to the folks in the state that the state is going to have to make up a difference, and there was a higher amount of money that the state of Connecticut and other states were awarded, last year. That dollar amount has come down, and therefore, in order to make people whole like yourself, I don't know what dollar amount you were getting the last time for oil or what you could do, but I've talked to the governor's office, and our state delegation has talked to the governor's office and your state legislators about the state of Connecticut is going to have to help to make up that difference for folks and fill that gap so that people are not left behind and going to be cold this winter or suffer this winter, because it's not. It's been cold. It already has been cold, and people can't be without the ability to heat their homes and to be able to take care of themselves and their families. I would commit to you that I'm happy to make the call again to the governor's office and get others to do the same, that we have to get the state legislature, et cetera, to move on increasing the funding for the LIHEAP program to make up the difference in the shortfall. Doug, do you want to deal with where we should try to go extending the program, or how we think that might be able to, or Courtney, how we can, kind of deal with extending the program?
I think we have the superpower on the call, Congresswoman. You're doing an amazing job advocating for funding, and we so appreciate that at the state level. I would like to add a powerful fact. The Affordable Connectivity Program in Connecticut has enabled 178,000 households to connect to the internet and provided more than 25,000 computers. So we know this program is working. We know it's effective. We know it's a really powerful lifeline. And I know our commission within the Department of Administrative Services has submitted some powerful support around those statistics, encouraging members of Congress on both sides of the aisle to fund this program. But Courtney, I don't know if you've got any other additional guidance.
Let me just make another comment here. People need to know the facts, and I hope this doesn't offend anybody. Let me just be very clear. The Biden administration put together something called a domestic supplementary program to address issues that were critical to what is happening in the United States in a number of areas. One of the things that they asked for was additional funding, if you will, for the extension of this program. Now, you'll say, where is that? We have been trying to pass a domestic supplemental program. He asked for an additional $6 billion to continue this program. And what we have is and that was last October he asked for that. And to be very honest with you, and you can go and check this yourself, I'm not, that is being held up by the Republican majority in the House and in the Senate. The Biden administration asked for the money, and so far there has been no willingness to move the bill forward. You might say, well, why can't you move the bill forward? Well, that's not the way the process works. It's the majority party that moves the legislation forward. So understand that there has been a request to do this. As Doug pointed out, over 100,000 people who are using it to connect. It is a proven program. Your point was well taken. Why do some want to eliminate programs that work very, very well and have proved to be successful, like a LIHEAP program and like this ACF program?
Okay, let's go to our next question. This one was actually typed in online on your website, Congresswoman. We have Mustafa asking, as a computer scientist student looking for ways to give back to my community, I am delighted to hear about the Digital Navigator program. I would love to help people get connected and be safe. How can I help?
Doug, go for it. How can you help?
This is our program. So thank you, Mustafa, for oh boy, that's music to our ears. I would ask you to get in touch with us. You can email us at Digital Equity. That's Digital Equity at ct.gov, and let us know where you are. We don't have a cadre of digital navigators yet at the state level, but it's something that we're looking to develop. And again, we're waiting for the capacity funds to sort of ramp this up. But in the meantime, we love hearing from volunteers like you. And I would also say for anybody who's on the call who's got similar skills or time to volunteer, go down to your community center, go down to your YMCA, JCC, your local library. Those kinds of organizations would love to have your skills. But in the meantime, we'd love to hear from you. And I love, boy, that's the best question I've heard all day.
I love that. I'm very, very excited, and thank you, for your willingness to help out. That's what we need. We need great, community involvement in this effort. And we got a lot of young people who are engaged in the internet and computer science, etc. And your help in this effort is, as Doug says, it's music to our ears. So thank you.
Very good. Next, we're going to go to Andrew out of West Haven. A question about the free training mentioned earlier on in the call. Andrew, why don't you clarify?
I'm just wondering, me being a senior, I'm not as technically savvy as some of the young students and young people are today. So going on the internet and knowing what's safe and how to use it, I'm wondering how am I going to be able to get trained? I can do some of it, but like I said, I'm not technical savvy or tech savvy, so I'm at a loss. Where do I get the training? And the internet's gotten so high for high speed that it just makes it tough for us.
Yeah, I'm going to ask our folks on the line to answer this question, but I agree with you. You're a soulmate. I'm not technically savvy here. I rely on my grandkids to help me out with this stuff. So where is the training? How do you access it? And and is it free for folks?
And it's a great question. If I can jump in, one of the things we've done over the course of the past year, we were just trying to figure out what does it look like in Connecticut to get help, to get training. How hard is it? And that's going to help us design the program that we did so that we can fill in those gaps. So what I would suggest to you is, if you're looking for a local connection, and we don't have some formal system for this yet, it sounds like we've got things all figured out, but we've got a plan. We're waiting for the funding. We're looking to scale up. But in the meantime, I'll offer up, if you want to send an email to digitalequity@ct.gov, if you've got an email address, we can try to connect you with the local resources. If you want to just reach out to your library, I would ask them. Libraries are my hero. They've been doing this kind of work forever, and I don't want to impose on them because they are busy. But there are many libraries out there that also that will offer this kind of support service. But I think the most important question is, how do I get help? Because I think there are a lot of folks out there, and the research that we've done shows only 40% of our residents, and that's all residents, not just folks who are older and were sort of fell into technology later in life. 40% of our residents feel like they're not confident with technology and how to keep themselves safe. So we know this is a problem, and that's why we're seeking funding through this digital equity program to ramp up the training across the state. But to answer your question really directly, if you've got an email, send it to digitalequity@ct.gov. We'll try to connect you with local resources, and in the meantime, I would also check out your library. They're great resources for you.
And in using that website, Doug, will people know, like, is there a library, the library in West Haven? We know that Hamden, has the program. So will that tell our caller, where he can go, how close it is to his residence, and so forth, to make it as easy as possible?
Yeah, absolutely. If you give us an email and let us know where you live, we'll do our best to connect you with the local resources that will help you get that training while we're waiting for sort of those bigger investments that will help us to get more people like Mustafa connected to you, and more young people trained up to go help and really skill up everybody in Connecticut.
The other thing is, you can also call my office, and that number is area code 203-562-3718. Don't hesitate.
All right. Very good. Next, we are going to go to Shanira out of Hamden as well. Shanira has a question about, it's actually a very thoughtful question. Go ahead with your question about making it more, schools and students more well-informed of the changes.
Hi, so I'm Shanira Billups. I'm out of Hamden, Connecticut, but I do a lot of work between Hamden and New Haven. My question is in regards to youth and their families and the support, how you all are ensuring that those who are in school remain computer literate and are getting the assistance that they need, because what I'm finding a lot of the times is that children, they may have some capabilities, but they have limited resources, and then they're going home to parents who, even if they're young parents, they still may be limited as far as understanding how to manage what they need to for like homework or anything as far as reaching out. They may be limited as well as far as access, because the areas they live in aren't well equipped, and they may need help to like find out how to address those issues. And also as it pertains to children with special needs, my son, he's on the spectrum and he's in 4th grade, but he's fortunate enough where both of his parents are able to access the help that he needs for any kind of computer literacy, but that's not the case across the board. And when I do telehealth services with my clients, and things cut out or they're not able to access as quickly, and it disrupts treatment, being that if they're homebound or whatever the case may be. So that access is very important. And so how can even me as an independent provider ensure that I can be more helpful? I also teach at a university, and I love the fact that there's a university student or a student, it sounds like he wants to help. So it sounds like we might need some information on how to spread that abroad, because as an instructor, I would love to provide my students with that information in terms of like volunteering to do something like that for other families.
I mean, before I guess answer that, and I think you really hit something. And I spoke earlier. We have that people who have no access. They're concentrated in rural areas and in larger cities at a higher than average poverty levels. They're most likely to be without internet, or those with disabilities, language barriers, and low-income students. Okay, so just to say, that being recognized, that's why this piece of legislation in 2021, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, enacted this Internet for All initiative. And you're listening to some of the programs that exist under that initiative. It was $65 billion to provide affordable, reliable, high-speed internet for everyone over the next 10 years. But the fact of the matter is that there are programs there now, and we have this. I guess it's $144 million for Connecticut to do this. And that's what Connecticut Everyone Connected is about. Is that not right in terms of the federal law, Courtney, and how it's being implemented here in our state and in other states? The questioner asked, the $24,000 question here is that, we got some real gaps, and how are we going to try to fill them?
I do think, thanks, Congresswoman. I really think that this question gets at the heart of one of the central components of the BEAD program. What we heard really loud and clear from Congress in passing the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act was this is a program that puts states in the driver's seat. Often in the federal government, we put out grants that say, hey, everyone, here's a program, you come and apply, we'll let you know if you qualify. This program is designed a little bit kind of with the end in mind, saying, Connecticut, you know what Connecticut needs more than we do here in D.C. So put together a plan. It's got to meet a bunch of requirements. Doug and his colleagues are working kind of around the clock to make sure they're satisfying all of the requirements. But one of the key components of it is this local coordination, and that's not lip service. It is not enough for our states to tell us as the kind of grant administrator, yeah, we talked to some people, and here's what we're going to do. We're asking for a really detailed accounting of who are the groups that you talk to? What did they say? How are you reaching out to the public? Exactly to your point, to the caller's point earlier, how are we engaging with the public? How are we making sure that both they know what we're trying to do, and more importantly, we as kind of the folks that are building these programs know what the community actually needs. So I do want to give a lot of credit to Connecticut. They are working very hard, and I think, again, the proof is in the pudding. Doug mentioned earlier they received over 500 public comments to their plan that they put out for that purpose. That didn't happen in a vacuum. They really beat the bushes, so to speak, to make sure folks are reading that plan and taking time out of their day to provide that feedback to make it that much better in the long run. So I think it gets at the heart of one of the key components of the program, and this is, this is tough because there's a little bit of a long game here. This isn't, the BEAD program in particular isn't one that's going to help folks today, right? We're building some infrastructure here that's going to be over the next couple of years, but all of these building blocks are really important. So thanks for the opportunity to speak to it.
Yeah, no, I think this is a really important question. And one of the things I wanted to try to do with this Town Hall tonight, I really don't think that the majority of people know about, or obviously there are a lot that have used the ACF program, and et cetera, but what is I think the more information that we can get out about what are the benefits to people with this effort, and that we need to have a very strong, it's the ACP program, I'm sorry, not ACF, got my alphabet wrong, but ACP program, but getting the word out about what all of this is about, how people can access it, what are the timelines, et cetera. You talked about BEAD, and that you said over the next couple of years, but I think there's got to be, and I'd want to just help in terms of an education process to let people know what the benefits are to them and to their families through some of these vehicles and this legislation.
Okay. All right. Moving on to our next caller, Colleen from East Haven. Question about identity theft. You're live with the Congresswoman. Go ahead.
Yes. It's across the country that there's more and more of seniors being attacked on stealing their money. We lose billions of dollars each year of these hackers. Is there some way of a program or anything else to prevent hacking? Is government working on trying to get something to protect? You want more people on the internet and everything else, but those that can't, and the hackers just seem to be getting more and more shifty on how they hack people's accounts and everything else on the line.
Yeah. Well, let me give you what I know, and then ask our two guests to weigh in. If someone is using your personal information to open up accounts, to file taxes, to make purchases, you can visit something called identitytheft.gov. That is the federal government's resource to help you report and recover from identity theft. So this is about, there are resources through the FTC, okay, to be able to make sure that your personal information is secure, and that's why I think it's important to understand this is identitytheft.gov, where one can go to report this. There also are booklets, as I understand it, in English and in Spanish that can help people in the community protect their identity and recover if an identity thief, if you're a victim here. There are videos on, as well as I understand it. Are there other ways, both Doug and Courtney, that people can be safeguarded in this area?
Yeah, I'll jump in, Congresswoman. It's a great question. The research that we've done this past year, talking with thousands of residents, especially doing focus groups of older residents, affirms everything that you just stated, Colleen. Identity theft is on the rise. It's getting, as you said, it's getting shifty. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but with the advent of artificial intelligence and other kinds of technology advances, we call them, you're going to see a lot more and a lot more different kinds of attacks. But what can we do to get in the way of that? I mean, one is we can't create some all protective bubble around people who are online. A lot of this just comes down to skills. And so that's part of our plan is we want to make sure that when people are getting trained, they're getting trained on how to do productive things like do job searches and online learning and telehealth, but we also want to equip them with some self-defense, what we call cyber hygiene. So both looking at ways of, when you get that email, and it looks suspicious, how to detect those. There's some good tips and tricks there, and also how to protect your computer, how to keep it updated with all the virus definitions and all the other sort of protections. So it's the human behavior, it's the smarts to know how to detect this kind of stuff, and it's also protecting your equipment so that you don't become a victim of viruses and that kind of thing. One specific resource that I learned about over the past year after talking with thousands of people is a great resource from our friends at the AARP, and they've got a whole series of trainings that are available at what's called Senior Planet. So if you go to seniorplanet.org, I learned about this last August when we had another telephone town hall, but with the AARP. Seniorplanet.org, they've got all kinds of online courses ready to go. So give them a visit, and should be able to get you started in equipping with all those skills you need to protect yourself.
Seniorplanet.com?
Seniorplanet.org.
.org, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well,
this is Courtney. Oh.
Go ahead,
Go
Courtney.
ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Courtney. I apologize.
No. Sorry, I would only add, I think this is a great example, and pulling on a string that we talked about earlier in this call, of the community directing the state and federal's kind of efforts. So one of the allowable eligible expenses, if you will, of the BEAD program is cybersecurity investment. That's a decision that Connecticut will get to make in terms of how they want to allocate their funds, but that's an allowable expense for them. And so making sure that the state is hearing from you all on that is really important as well.
And let me ask you two guys, is this identitytheft.gov or whatever, is that something that from the Federal Trade Commission that is a useful tool as well?
From my perspective, absolutely. I think their sweet spot is when something bad has already happened. There are resources to help protect.
Prevent.
Well, exactly. And I would also say we have so many great resources from our providers. The government's got wonderful resources, but any one of your credit card companies, if you ask them for help, they would probably give you some really great resources as well. It's in their best interest, your financial institutions, to make sure that you're protected because they're kind of at risk as well. So lean on your banks and your credit cards. They've got great resources around this.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Well, Congresswoman, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for questions tonight. And We appreciate the opportunity to speak directly with you all on the line and answer your questions. If we weren't able to get to your question this evening, you can contact us through our website, delauro.house.gov, or leave a voicemail after this event. We'll host more of these events in the future to keep you informed on what we're working on and with other important updates. And with that, I'll just turn it over to Congresswoman for closing remarks. Congresswoman?
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining in this evening. And I want to particularly say thank you to Doug Casey and Courtney Dozier, for your expertise, for your knowledge, for your concern, and overall for making the programs that we're legislating at the federal level are people friendly, and so that people know how to access them. People know what to do, and to be confident that they can get the information that they need, in order to be able to be connected. I think, and I go back to what I said at the outset. Internet is not a luxury. You cannot afford not to have it. And what we need to do is what was done so many years ago with rural electricity, or we made electricity available across the United States. We have the capability of doing this. This is a new age with new technology, and what we want to do is to do right by the American people and get them, what they need. It is the key for their economic success. It's a key to their health these days. It's a key for students. It's a key to jobs. All of those, and it got tremendous power, and we want to try to harness that for the American people. That was the purpose of tonight, and we couldn't have two better, participants and experts in this area to answer questions. And I'm so grateful for the questions that were asked. And if you do put them in the chat or you get to us, we'll be certain to answer those questions. Above all, we need to work to close the divide and make sure that there is an internet for all. And that initiative, we have to make it workable for people. So thank you. Again, continue to welcome your comments and look forward to another opportunity to be in touch. Thanks so much, and good night. Be safe, everyone.
The Access Live event has ended.